There we go. Well, happy new week, everyone. Welcome to yoga. My name is Michelle Chua. So you might have already listened to a little video. I'm kind of going to repeat some information if you have that I posted today. I sometimes get addressed with the concern, look, I've been practicing yoga for a while now, let's say over 10 years, and I don't feel like I'm advancing in my yoga practice. And I thought I'd like to address that, at least from my perspective, starting with a point that Chua, who is one of the pioneers of modern yoga, Vinyasa, said. He mentioned the way to look at our progress in yoga was to look at our relationships and how has our practicing yoga impacted our relationships. And I think that's so important, as well as how does it impact our relationship with ourselves, our minds, our bodies, our hearts, our souls, all of our beings. And I guess looking at relationships makes it a little easier to see, because sometimes it's hard to shine the light at ourselves and look in the mirror. And then I offer a few other things to consider, like what does advance in yoga mean to you? If we look at the 8 limbs of yoga, there are so many stages and aspects in which we practice it. Does advancing in yoga mean physical, being able to do something extraordinary with your physical body? Does it mean meditation, being able to enter a state of living meditation called samadhi? And then in that respect, how is your approach to your practice? In many ways, is it something obligatory that you feel like you should do, that you're supposed to do? Because that can totally color the effect of the practice, right? As with anything, any skill that you're learning. Or is it something that you dive into with an open heart, open mind, not planning out the way it should affect you, but having this kind of open slate to what possibilities might arise? Another thing to consider is, how regular is your practice? Is it a commitment that you step into several days a week? Is it something that you tingle with sporadically when you feel like you can squeeze in some time? As with any skill that you want to master or feel competent in, how do you approach the practice of yoga? I like to think of yoga as you coming in to sharpen this pencil, and the tool is not just to be used in the sharpener, it's to be used in the writing of your life. How do you apply it outside of this hour? And I think that brings us back to the Sakachar's point in how do you reflect the effects of your practice in your living world, in your relationships. So some thoughts to perhaps chew on as we integrate the various practices of yoga. Not only physical, though the expanse of this hour is colored mostly by physical, but within that physical practice, can we practice svadhyaya, that niyama called self-study, that observance of our mind, observance of our bodies, observance of our breaths? The wonderful side effect of physical yoga is this: you do get physically stronger and more open and flexible. But remembering the stages goes deeper into meditation, and samadhi itself is that union with the world around us. So how do we bring that perspective into the approach tonight? So please find a comfortable seat. Physically feel what you're sitting on and literally ground into it, a feeling of anchoring towards the center of the earth. And with that anchoring down, allow the consequential rising up of energy through your spine to uplift your crown, to uplift your chest. allowing a more open space around the chest so that the lungs can more freely fill up. And then perhaps close your eyes as you rest your hands on your lap. Allow a moment to scan your physical body. Is there any tension held anywhere? That can also be a window to mental stress, to emotional tension. What has your mind been focusing on today that perhaps is echoing now through thoughts? And now having a choice to direct your focus on what you do desire to cultivate in your physical state, in your energetic state, which is colored by your thoughts and emotions too, as well as breath. As you dive deeper into your inhalation, trace its route in your physical landscape, your body. Allow the exhalation to be more audible to you, maybe a few times even sighing it out if that's what you need to do, unpacking perhaps any heaviness of mind or body. Slowing your breath down in hopes of also slowing the mind down. And now let's close the lips, beginning to generate heat within the body as we prepare for our pranayama practice of Bhastrika, bellows breath. This practice helps to quiet the mind, sort of say, as well as energize the lungs and body. And with it comes a physical action. If you'd like to practice that kriya, we begin with the elbows bent apart and hands like fists, sitting tall and relaxed. And as you inhale through your nose, you raise your arms straight up, spreading the fingers, expanding your lungs and belly. So you're using your diaphragm as you breathe. And as you exhale through your nose, you rebend your elbows and refist your hands. It's rhythmic, mouth is closed, eyes are closed, like this. Equal in and out breaths, really expanding your lungs and belly using your diaphragm. So let's try that. I'm going to set the timer for 1 minute and invite you to continue that self-observation throughout the process and after. Ready? Begin. And relax into a natural breath just for a moment, pausing to observe. Then let's move into Ujjayi Pranayama, another breath work that helps to calm the nervous system, steady the mind's focus by softly constricting the back of your throat and creating a gentle whisper, while sustaining your breath equally in and out through your nose. And continuing to listen to that whispering sound, a smooth, soft sound. Gently open your eyes And let's come down to all fours, hands and knees. Having your knees directly under your hips and your wrists directly under your shoulders so that you are in modified plank pose. Now see that your index fingers are parallel as they both point forward. You're spreading your thumbs flat on the earth. So your hands feel like your sitting bones did earlier, that they're rooting down to lift up. Draw your shoulder blades down your back as you look at the floor ahead of your hands, lengthening your neck. Find a slight lift in your belly and draw your sitting bones back, elongating your spine through both ends. Now imagine that you're balancing a book across your lower back, trying to keep the height of your two hips balanced. As you slowly inhale to raise your right leg straight behind you, flexing the toes downward. Now continue to breathe here as you might need to draw your left outer hip slightly more towards your rear wall in order to equal the lengths of the left and right sides of your torso. Keep lifting your lower belly, broadening your chest forward and listening to your breath. Now, if your balance feels pretty stable, you might begin to crawl your left fingertips forward on the earth and then slowly raise your left arm so that your upper arm is alongside your ear, drawing your left shoulder back to align with the right. So just like your hips are even, shoulders are even. Feeling your breath in, let your belly hollow a bit with your breath out. Keep rebounding your weight off the floor to your right hand. And now let's see if you can bend the right knee as though your heel was trying to touch your glute, keeping your hips leveled, your belly engaged, and backstroke your left arm, opening the front side of that shoulder. Now see if you can reach hold of your right foot, and if not, just keep reaching and opening the left inner shoulder. You can always set the left hand down if you need to. If you do have hold of your right foot, think of the counter forces of a bow and arrow. Begin to kick your right leg towards the rear wall as you pull your foot towards you, not allowing your belly to collapse for 3 more breaths here. So use that force of your right leg straightening to further open the left side of your chest. You might even play with the challenge of balancing by looking up. Let's take one more deep breath. Keeping your hips leveled, slowly re-extend your right leg behind you, flexing the foot, left arm in front of you if it's off the floor. And take one more inhalation, lengthen the crown of your head forward, tailbone towards your inner right heel. As you exhale, round, bending your your right knee and your left elbow towards each other. Maybe they touch. Inhale, re-lengthen. Feel the feeling of a flat back. Exhale, contract, rounding your spine. Let's take that one more time. Inhale, reach. And exhale, contract. This time, inhale, reach. Set your left hand, right knee to the ground. With an inhalation, raise your right arm towards the sky. Open up the right side of your chest. And with an exhalation, slide that arm on the floor with a palm face up under your left bent elbow. Rest the right side of your head all the way down and feel free to use a prop like a block if your head doesn't easily meet the ground. Here in the spinal twist called thread the needle, continue to level out your hips, directing the twist to occur mostly across your waistline. Allow your rib cage to gently turn as we broaden across the shoulder blades. About 3 more breaths. So I find it helpful to flare the left elbow towards the sky, or at least leave it off the ground so that your left fingertips can serve as traction, whether to deepen the twist or just to help balance. With your next exhalation, slowly rise back to all fours, hands and knees, into your modified plank. Wrists right under shoulders, gaze forward, and continue to lift the lower belly. Broaden the chest. On your next inhale, keep your hips leveled as you straighten your left leg off the floor behind you, flexing the foot so your toes are curled towards the ground. Keep breathing here as you feel your hands rebound your weight off the floor, creating space within your shoulder joints. Now you might explore raising your right arm as though you're about to shake someone's hand towards your front wall. But draw the right shoulder back so both shoulders are equidistant from both ears. Feel the slight lift of your navel, getting a little longer from tailbone towards inner left heel and crown of your head towards front wall. Now, if your balance feels pretty stable, bending your left knee as though you're kicking your own glute with your heel, backstroke your right arm and open up the front of your right shoulder further. Now, if you're doing that, see if you can reach hold of your left foot and, like a bow and arrow, kick your left leg towards straight as you pull your foot, allowing your chest to expand and rise without collapsing the belly. Still lifting it in towards the spine, a few more breaths. If your balance feels pretty stable and you want to challenge it some more, try looking up towards the sky. One more deep breath. So the yamas and niyamas, the more mental practices like non-violence and self-study, are so important to integrate within the physical postures. Like, what is our energetic approach to doing what we're doing now? Slowly re-extend your left leg back off the ground, right arm forward. Get a little bit longer as you breathe in. Then exhale, contract your belly to dome your spine, perhaps right elbow, left knee to touch. Inhale, re-lengthen, feel as though you have a flat back. Then exhale, contract your belly again, knee and elbow touch. Last time, inhale, reach. Keep rebounding your weight off the left hand. Exhale, round. Inhale, reach. And this time, lower your hands and knees to the ground. Second side of the twist. Inhale, raise your left arm, open the left side of your chest. Exhale, thread your left arm, palm face up, under your right bent elbow. Resting the left side of your head on the floor or on a prop. Flare your right elbow off the floor. Feel the leveling of your two hips, stabilizing your lower spine. And then allow the twist to gently deepen, just below your lowest ribs. As you scan your physical body for any sensations, what are they telling you about the way you are approaching your physical practice? Is there a feeling of balance, of doing as well as listening? Let's take one more deep breath. And when I say listening, it doesn't mean listening to me. It's listening to you. It's listening to your body's wisdom and how it lets you know exactly a reflection of your intention. Let's come back to all fours, hands and knees. And from here, glide forward, bend your elbows back, passing through Chaturanga Dandasana. Pause there for an inhalation. Lift the belly, broaden the chest, lengthen the neck. Then slowly lower all the way down. So make sure your ankles are about hips width. You're pointing your toes back so actively on the floor that your knees are not resting on your mat. Then reach your hands behind your lower back to interlace your fingers or hold a strap between. As you press every toenail into the earth, with an inhalation, reach the knuckles of your hands back towards your heels, coiling your chest up. Then look on the ground ahead for another 5 or so deep breaths. You count. Pressing your shoulder blades down your back ribs. Spin your inner thighs slightly towards the sky to keep the legs parallel. And reach your tailbone towards your inner heels, grounding through your feet, lifting through your heart. When you decide that you're finished with bound locust pose, lower your hands so that your wrists are alongside your floating ribs to prepare for either cobra or upward facing dog, about 3 breaths. Either one, keep firming down through the tops of your feet. If you're in upward dog, shoulders drop back to stack right above the wrist so the heart presses forward. With an exhalation, contract your belly, feel the sitting bones lift. Press the tops of your thighs back, soles of the feet on the earth, downward facing dog. You need a moment to shift around, like pedaling your feet or softly shaking your head. Feel free. A few breaths. As you prepare your body to stay in downward dog in stillness a few breaths, feel your hands rebound your weight off the earth. Lift your hips further up and back. Feel free to bend the knees as much as needed. Rotate your outer upper arms towards the ground, broaden across your shoulders. And let your weight sink down the backs of your legs to your heels, even if they don't meet the floor. Now let's hold still, breathing in. Breathing out, steady your eyes on one spot. Last 3 breaths here. Now with very bent knees, lift your heels and hips high. Look beyond your fingertips. At the end of your exhale, hold your breath out. Lift your pelvic floor and try to lightly land at the top of your mat. Into a forward fold. Your feet hips width, parallel. Inhale, press the ground or your legs, stretching your spine forward, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bow again into Uttanasana. Firm down through your feet. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead to rise tall in Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, trace your thumbs down, standing in mountain pose, Tadasana. Sun salutation A, lead with your breath. Inhale, sweep your arms up, gaze up. Exhale, fold forward. Press the legs. Inhale, lift your chest, lengthen halfway. Step into plank or float into Chaturanga as you breathe out. With an inhale, choose cobra or upward facing dog. As you exhale, feel your belly help lift your hips back to downward dog. Then steady your gaze on one spot. Let your body be still. And steady your breath. So that the stillness that we cultivate, the focus that we cultivate within a posture helps to set the tone for self-observation as well as meditation in the end. Though the movements themselves can be a form of meditation when the mind is steady. Bend your knees, look in front of your hands. At the end of your exhale, lightly land at the top of your mat. Inhale, lengthen forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise and gaze up. Exhale, back to mountain pose. One more sun salutation A. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Step through plank or float into Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale into Bhujangasana or Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Pause in stillness, 3 to 5 breaths. So while I say physical stillness, there's still an energetic movement within the pose. It still doesn't feel stagnant. As you're pressing the ground, your fingers spread, you might imagine roots digging down past the surface of the earth, coming from your palms, coming from your heels. You might imagine beyond your physical tailbone, a lengthening of energy up and towards your rear wall. As your neck releases, you might feel the shoulders rising. Now with very bent knees, look forward, bottom of the breath, lightly land at the top. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold in. Inhale to rise all the way up. And exhale, hands together at your heart. So as you shift your weight onto your left foot, I'm going to mirror you in tree. Turn out your right leg from the hip and allow the sitting bone to sort of roll, pointing towards your inner left heel. Then decide where you want to place the sole of your right foot, either against your inner left ankle, calf, or thigh, just making sure you're not pressing against the side of your knee. Use your right foot pressing against your left leg to help continue to turn the right thigh bone at the hip. And as your left leg presses back into that foot, that creates a stability. Remember that hatha yoga or physical yoga is much about using counter forces, yin and yang. What we might perceive as opposites. Feel the balancing of your hips as you root into the earth through the four corners of your left foot. Feel the emergence of energy up through the crown of your head, maybe even raise the arms. As we hold still in your variation of Vrikshasana or tree, let's take a few more breaths. And slowly release your right foot to the earth. And if you need a moment to stretch your left ankle or shake out that leg, feel free. Then as you set your 2 feet together, shift your weight onto your right foot. Turn open your left thigh bone at the hip and roll the sitting bone down to point towards your inner right heel. Hugging the inside of your right ankle, calf, or thigh with the sole. Feel this physical and energetic hugging in towards your midline to feel the turn out, the expansion outwards. Similarly, the rooting into the earth to feel the rise up, perhaps raising your arms. In the quality of your breath that you're hearing, in the physical sensations you're feeling, it's present in this moment for you. And then joining your hands down your midline, set your left foot down, maybe give your right foot a little shake. And let's come back to the top of your mat. Feet touching, preparing for Utkatasana. We're going to enter a continuous flow through 2 rounds of Surya Namaskar B, Sun Salutation B. Remember that the physical sun salutations are also meant to energize the body, help to get the mind to slow down as we give the body something to do. So bend your knees together. Inhale, sit your weight back towards your heels. Raise your arms in chair. Exhale, bow forward. Press the ground of your legs. Inhale, lengthen halfway up. Step through plank or float into Chaturanga Dandasana. If you want to tone down the vinyasa, feel free to take a cat-cow pose instead. When you arrive in downward dog, inhale, raise your right leg, keeping your hips leveled. And exhale, use the belly to softly land your foot inside of your right hand, keeping the feet hips width apart. Inhale, rise, face forward into Warrior One. Then exhale, lower through plank into Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale to lift your chest, cobra or upward. Exhale, back to downward dog. Second side, inhale, raise your left leg, squaring your hips. Exhale, feel the belly engage to land the foot inside of your left hand, dropping the back heel and facing forward. Inhale, rise, Warrior One. Then exhale all the way down into your chosen vinyasa. Continuing on to downward dog, where we hold still for a few breaths. Then bending your knees, gaze past where you want to land your feet. On emptied breath, softly. Inhale, lengthen halfway, feet are together. Exhale, fold. Then knees together. Inhale, sit back into chair or Utkatasana. Guys, finishing the first cycle of 2. One more, inhale into chair. Exhale to fold forward. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Step or float back through Chaturanga. Breathe in to lift your heart space. Breathe out to lift your hips. From downward dog, inhale, raise your right leg. Exhale, step the foot inside of your right hand, drop your back heel. Inhale, rise into Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale, lower through Chaturanga Dandasana. Keep going into your vinyasa of choice. Then from downward dog, inhale, raise your left leg. Exhale the foot inside of your left hand, dropping your back heel. Inhale, rise into warrior one. Exhale, lower into your vinyasa. We'll meet in downward dog. In weeks past, or even months past, we talked about the energy centers known as the chakras, and how not only physically can we awaken them or create balance of energy flow through them, but also through our thoughts, emotions, and our interactions with the world. I'm bringing this up because I've got something to mention in just a moment, but let's wrap this salutation up. Bend your knees, look forward. Bottom of the exhale, lightly land. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Knees touch. Inhale into chair. Let's prepare for a twist in chair. To keep sitting low, join your hands at your heart, and as you breathe out, begin to twist to your right, keeping your hips leveled. You can see that your knees are in the same line, and twisting at your waistline, perhaps adding the leverage of left arm, pressing against outer right thigh. So what I was starting to mention about the chakras was that through the physical postures, we can help to open these channels of energy that may feel stuck. Different postures target different energy centers within the subtle body. Let's take one more breath here. Such as this one, the solar plexus is activated. That energy flow that is about willpower and even balance of ego. Come back to sit, inhale in chair, exhale to rise up. One more side, inhale back to chair. Join your hands, join your legs, and then to your side, exhale, begin to twist. So I find it helpful if you know that your right knee likes to creep forward of the left here, which means the pelvis is rotating, which we want to prevent. I find it helpful to tack the right hip further back, or at least to think about that as you're turning your chest to face your left wall. At least for me, I find that willpower is definitely tested, but also sharpened through this posture. One more breath. Inhale, sit back to center in chair. And raise up. Ooh, let's turn to face the wide width of your mat, and feel free to grab blocks. Grab mine over here under the camera. Step your feet wide apart as we prepare for triangle pose. Blocks just behind your calves. And as I mirror you, rotate your legs and turn to pivot your feet to face your left foot, your front leg. Align your left heel to the arch of your right foot. Keep your legs straight, open your arms wide, and relax your shoulders. Slide your pelvis sideways towards your right foot, your rear leg, and reach your left hand forward past your left knee before lowering it onto your leg, or just outside of your leg, whether on a block or on the ground, where you could press your arm and leg against each other. Now, remember in tree pose, when we turned out the lifted leg from the hip, do that to your left leg here. Feel that your left sitting bone is slightly wrapping under your body, so that if you look at your left knee, the center of it is aligned with your left middle toe, tracing the midline of your mat. Your right leg is slightly turned in. And as you draw that left hip crease towards your rear heel, you lengthen the top of your head towards the wall before you. You can feel how those contrasting lines of energy can open space in the physical body. And as we open space, we can allow energy flow. Turn your chest slightly to face the sky, allowing 2 more breaths in this blueprint posture for the next. So basically the same shape, we're just going to tilt it forward to land only on your left foot. Making our way into half moon, you might transition with your right hand on your right hip if you feel challenged in balancing today. And then take your left hand and crawl it about 6 inches ahead of your left pinky toe out to the left upper corner. Bring your block if you're using it. Drag your right foot forward, flex your right foot, and lift the heel about the height of your hip. Remember that left sitting bone rotating under your body in triangle. Continue that same action so that your left knee and middle toe are still facing the midline of your mat forward. Perhaps raise your right arm. Now, if you're feeling the need to open up the front of your right hip and thigh here, Ardha Chandra Chapasana is to bend your right knee towards your chest so that you could reach hold of the top of your right foot with your right hand. And as you kick your right leg sideways towards straight behind you, not towards the ceiling, pull the foot in, similar to what we did in the beginning on our knees, and open the right side of your chest. Still feeling your center active, navel drawing in towards spine. So whatever variation you're in, observe how your mind approaches this pose and the impact on your breathing. Now coming out, if you're holding your right foot, slowly straighten that leg into half moon and then bend your left knee, softly step back into warrior two. So it's a little wider stance than triangle, and just take about 3 breaths to ground in this posture, bending the left knee just over the heel. Now from warrior two, let's straighten the left leg, parallel your feet to face the wide width of your mat. You'll want a slightly shorter stance than warrior two for triangle. So rotate your legs from your hips, pivot both feet to face the opposite edge of your mat. So as you look at your right front foot, that heel aligns to the arch of your left foot. And as your legs are straight, reopen your arms, take a deep breath, and then slide your hips sideways towards your rear leg as you reach your right hand forward horizontally, as far as you can before tilting it downward onto your leg or just to the right of it, maybe on a block. Now feel your right sitting bone. Consciously turn out your right thigh so that sitting bone rolls slightly under your body, directed towards your inner left heel. Feel the crown of your head lengthen towards the wall before you as you turn your chest slightly towards the sky. In this physically expanding posture, I like to imagine the lines of energy created through the shape of our body. So one line is from the heart center out through your arms and fingertips and beyond your skin. Imagine breathing across that line, allowing energy flow. Passes through your heart center. Another line is from the outer edge of your left heel, pressing the earth up your left leg, up your spine, out through the crown of your head. Feel the lengthening through that line. Now let's take this blueprint into half moon. And as we transition, you might add stability by placing your left hand on your left hip. Steady your gaze on the ground in front of your right foot. Bend your right knee and place your right hand, maybe with your block, 6 inches ahead into the right outer corner of your right pinky toe. Drag your left foot forward. As soon as it leaves the floor, flex it. Feel the stable support of your lifted leg as you make it parallel to the floor. And your chest completely open to stack left shoulder over right wrist. And notice that right sitting bone continues to rotate towards your inner left heel. And as the crown of your head lengthens forward. Maybe you raise the left arm up. Maybe explore Chapasana, bending your left knee towards your belly, catching hold of the top of your left foot as you kick the leg sideways towards the rear wall. You're pulling it towards you, allowing opening in the left side of your chest. Belly active, a few last breaths. I love the teachings of mindfulness teacher Thich Nhat Hanh in that anything can be a sacred act. Anything can be a form of meditation with the energy we put into it, with the focus and intention that we put into it. Something as simple as breathing can be an act of meditation. Start to unwind the left leg if it's bent. Slowly bend your right knee and softly as you can land into Warrior Two, a slightly wider stance than Triangle. Steady your gaze past your right hand as you bend the right knee. And now from here, let's step up to the top of your mat. Separate your feet a little wider than hips distance parallel. Reach your hands behind you. Switch the interlacing of thumb and index, the one that's not the default, on top. And then roll your shoulders back as you breathe in to lift your chest. Hinging from your hips, lengthen your spine so that if it rounds, you can bend your knees any amount. Exhale as you fold. Be here for about 4 more breaths, stretching your arms forward, away from your lower back, further opening your chest. And as you let your head just be heavy, neck loose, float your shoulders up away from your neck. Feel your sitting bones rise as you tilt your weight heavier onto the balls of your feet. And then lower your hands to the ground, stepping back onto all fours, hands and knees. So I invite you to take a 1.5 minute practice of an active inversion of your choice. It could be downward facing dog, dolphin pose, coming onto your forearms. I'll walk you through that if you like. Headstand, Shirshasana, if you have no neck injuries and can practice that. Something against the wall like L-shaped pose if you have wall space. So those of you coming into dolphin, lower your elbows to the floor exactly your shoulders width apart and decide whether to parallel your forearms so your palms are face down or interlace your fingers, helpful if your mat is slippery, and root your outer wrists into the earth. Remembering that in this posture, your weight is being carried by your forearms and your feet, not your head. So as you root down through your forearms, melt your chest a little closer to the ground and draw your shoulders back away from your ears. Firm your belly towards your back and tuck your toes. When you're ready, lift your pelvis like downward dog. Now, if possible, walk your feet closer to your elbows in dolphin and perhaps even bring them together to touch. And opt for the challenge of raising one leg as you flex the foot, keeping the hips squared for a few breaths. Maybe resting in child's pose before you enter the second side. So you're on your own. You've got about a minute longer practicing an active inversion of your choice. Now, energetically, going upside down is a wonderful way to just kind of switch. Like if you are in a heated age, or if you are feeling confusion in your mind or some intense energy that you just feel like you need to step out of, moving very opposite from what your gestures were can definitely help to shift energy. The body can be such a wonderful tool for opening up the other realms of being spiritual, mental, emotional, energetic. Now, when you decide that you're finished with your inversion, let's meet in child's pose for a few breaths. You might opt to give your shoulders a rest and just let your arms rest down by your sides alongside your legs. And just observe the effects of that physical practice. Now we're about to open the hips a little further in single pigeon pose. You might choose to lie on your back if you have sensitivity in your knees or just want to lie on your back. We're doing the latter. I'll walk you through that if you need it. Otherwise, it's that figure 4 shape with your legs. How much we gave. Let's come into the upright version first. So go on to hands and knees. Then turn out your right leg to cross your right shin in front of your pelvis onto your mat. Slide your left leg straight back and just allow a moment to tuck your left toes. Place your hands alongside your hips and lift your pelvis off the floor so that you can scissor your right hip back, send the left hip forward, and equally face them forward. Now you'll know if you need to put some block or folded blanket under your right glute to maintain that balance in your hips. Now, if you're feeling pretty open in your right hip and you're able to slide your right shin forward where it's parallel to the front edge of your mat, make sure that you protect your knee by flexing your right foot. Then relax your back toes and decide where you want to go here. Fold forward, rest your forehead on a block. Add a heart opener by backstroking the left arm to catch hold of your left foot. Now, if you're on your back, figure four shape is right. Flex the right foot that's on top. And then thread your right hand between your thighs so that both hands can bring your left leg slowly closer to your chest. You might use your right arm to nudge your inner right thigh open as you do that, relaxing your head and your shoulders. Let's take about 5 more breaths, whatever version you're practicing on side 1 of this hip opener. So if you're lying on your back, you might first uncross your legs and circle them together and apart. If you're in the upright version, make your way back slowly into all fours or downward dog and just give your right leg some movement at the hip. If you're on your back, simply do the same for left leg on top. Now from all fours, slide your left shin across your mat in front of your pelvis. Tuck your right toes behind you as you straighten that leg. Place your hands on the ground alongside your hips. Lift your pelvis and scissor your left hip back. Maybe place an object to support your left glute. And then relax your back toes and explore the same version as side 1, though the depth might be different. Feel into any accommodations your body might be asking for or advancements that your body might be asking for on this side. Remember, if you're lying on your back, the foot that is on top, make sure to flex it to help stabilize your knee. Continue to rest your head and shoulders on the ground or perhaps a pillow under your head. Let's take 5 more breaths. If you're on your back, you might circle your legs again or take happy baby. Otherwise, please make your way back to hands and knees or downward facing dog and give your left leg some movement at the hip. Let's all meet lying on our backs. If you have a block, take it with you. Setting your feet apart on the floor about hips distance. Hug the block by its skinniest width between your thighs. Just your feet so that they're as wide apart as your thighs. Then with your arms down by your sides, slide your feet back until you could almost touch your heels with your fingertips, but not quite. Just almost. It's how far away you'll want your feet to be from your pelvis. Then ground the backs of your shoulders and tilt your chin back slightly, opening your throat. From down through the 4 corners of each foot, and with an inhale, lift your pelvis into bridge. Staying there for your own count of 5 to 10 deep inhalations. Now, as you lift your hips, slide your upper arms closer together underneath your back ribs to help broaden your chest further. As you keep your arms straight, if your hands can meet to clasp, try adding that. Feel the energy of your legs without visibly moving them. Bring the feeling as if you're dragging your heels back towards your glutes, which activates your hamstrings and glutes, while you lengthen your thigh bones forward towards your front wall, which helps to open your hip flexors. This physical posture helps to increase the capacity of the lungs to feel the depths of your in-breaths. Energetically, it targets the heart energy center. The energy of compassion, both for ourselves and others. When you decide to come down, with an exhalation, slowly lower your spine, then your pelvis. Keep the block between your thighs as we prepare for one last, either bridge pose or upward facing bow, where your hands are planted alongside your ears, palms face down, fingertips slightly turned out towards the outer corners of your mat. Just like the legs, if you are entering upward bow, otherwise take bridge on your own. Make sure that your arms stay parallel, and you'll want to start by just lifting your pelvis like bridge, sliding the shoulders away from your neck, and then pressing your hands down to bring the top of your head to the floor. Then you might step the hands a little wider apart or turn them out a little more to prevent flaring apart. Then, if there's no compression in the lower back, you can push off your hands and feet and lift your head, bringing that same energy of engaging your hamstrings and glutes, as if you're dragging your heels back as you lengthen your tailbone forward towards the block. Urdhva Dhanurasana, upward facing dog. Now, whichever back bend you're in, when you decide to come down, reverse the stages slowly. And let's take a block. Bridge. Cross your mat, either on the lowest height, the second level height, maybe the highest level, that might be a little much, right under the flat part of your lower back, right under your sacrum. You give some intention into that placement of the block. You don't want it to be too low towards the bottom edge of your glutes, nor too high towards your rib cage. In a comfortable spot to support your weight. And then from here, you might turn your palms up with your arms really close to your sides on the ground, shoulders pressing into the earth. And continue to open your throat by tilting your chin slightly away from your chest. Parallel your legs, hips width apart. Now, as we hold restorative bridge, for about 5 more breaths, I invite you to close your eyes and bring your mind's eye to the center of your chest, Anahata Chakra, or the heart energy center. Imagine you could breathe in through there, and from that portal, expand up and down your body, your breath, that is. And then breathing out from there, observe anything you feel in that area of your physical and energetic body. The felt sense is a powerful way of understanding our feelings, our emotions that we're holding, even in unconscious layers. The felt sense is not so much physical, it's sort of the metaphorical description of heaviness in the chest or butterflies in the stomach, carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders, those kinds of so-called sensations. Do you feel anything at your heart center? allow space for anything that resides there right now, even if it might not be such a pleasant feeling. So the inhales sort of open a room for it to be in, and the exhales loosen the grip around it so that you're able to observe it with compassion to yourself. Understand, we've been here longer than 5 breaths, but if you would like to raise your legs while you're still resting on the block, you could add cooling inversion for just another 5 breaths. The block, it's a supported version of shoulder stand. Physical yoga, we do a lot to relax the body and mind, especially using the breath. That we're able to observe beneath the turbulence of life. Sometimes it does feel like waves. Beneath the ups and downs of our days and circumstances. Meditation is that process of observing without judgment. If your feet are in the air, softly land them onto the earth so that you can gently lift your hips and remove the block under your sacrum. And lowering your pelvis gently to the ground, bend your right knee into your chest, hugging your left leg forward. Put your pelvis a couple inches closer to the right edge of your mat as you open your right arm wide, keeping your shoulder grounded as you turn your head towards it. Begin to twist to your left, crossing your right leg over your torso. Allow your right outer hip to soften away from your torso, melting towards your inner left heel, inviting space into your sacrum and lumbar spine. As you breathe out next, roll onto your back and bend your left knee into your chest. Slide your right leg forward and scoot your pelvis a little closer to the left edge of your mat. Open your left arm wide on the floor, grounding that shoulder as you turn your gaze towards it. Begin to twist to your right side. Allow your left outer hip to seek your inner right heel, broadening the space across your lower back. Now let's prepare the body in stillness for a few minutes in corpse pose. Allowing your legs to perhaps slide straight and the feet to flop open. Bringing the palms up slightly away from your sides as you release the shoulders down. Make any adjustments, any movements so that your body can find a position of openness. then let it be still. Close your eyes in an effort to turn your attention inward. Allow your breath to flow naturally as you continue to cultivate awareness. So as you continue to observe your body here, what does it need from you right now in the remainder of 2 minutes entering meditation? Does it need to stay lying down? Does it need to be upright so that the mind is more, or your awareness is more focused? And if the latter, gently make that transition to sit. Perhaps you keep your eyes closed. And I invite you in this 2 minutes of meditation to continue to breathe naturally and practice observing what comes up within you, thoughts especially, with a commitment to be present. So that if your focus wanders, you might use your breath, the feeling of it, to regain presence. But being kind to yourself in doing so. Remembering that it's a constant practice within itself. if you're still lying down and want to join us to close, gently begin to lift your body up to sit too. Joining your palms to meet at your heart, this gesture of union, of yin and yang, the left and right sides of the body, of union of what might seem like opposites as we tune into our wholeness at the heart, bowing in with gratitude. Let's close chanting one Om. Take a deep breath. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.